Everybody worries about the wrong thing. You are standing on a dealer lot, about to sign for a compact tractor, a green one, an orange one, or a name you have only ever seen out front of a farm store. And every voice swears the same promise. The engine will outlive you. They are right. A good compact diesel will run for thousands of hours. But nobody on that lot mentions the part. So here's the number that should decide your purchase, and almost no buyer ever hears it. One brand on this list stands behind its machines with more than 2,000 parts counters across the country. Another one with about 300, and one of them with 0 because it went out of business, and its owners are out there right now, holding a tractor that nobody will fix. That is the real ranking. Not horsepower, not price, not which engine lasts longest, because that question is already settled. The one that matters over the machine's life is this. Which of these brands will still sell you a part in year 7? And how far will you drive to the counter that has it? The internet will tell you a Japanese engine lasts forever. It does, and that is the wrong thing to be worried about, because the engine outlives the company that sells its water pump. At year 7, you are not waiting on an engine. You are waiting on a $50 relay, a hydraulic line, a wiring harness the size of your arm. And whether that wait is one afternoon or the rest of the machine's life gets decided the moment you pick the badge on the hood. We are going to rank every brand a shopper actually considers, from the ones that strand you to the one that never will. Worst to first. Start at the bottom, where the wait is not 7 years. It is forever. Meet the graveyard. In Tarboro, North Carolina, there was a company called Farmtrac. It sold affordable tractors, and plenty of Americans bought them. Then, in January of 2008, Farmtrac told about 180 workers it was finished. By the middle of February, the line stopped. Here is what that meant for the people who signed the paperwork. The buyers holding warranties could not get them honored. The dealers could not get parts and dump their stock as is. No support. A tractor a family paid $20,000 for became a phone number that did not answer. Now say the name Montana. It sounds like the most American thing you could bolt onto a hood. It was never a factory. Montana was a badge, painted onto Korean and Indian iron. And when the Korean supplier that built those machines came into America to sell under its own name, Montana lost the tractors it had been selling. Around 2010, it stopped. Today, Montana survives as a parts desk in North Carolina, nothing more. See the mechanism plainly, because it is the whole video. The badge was never the builder. When the badge leaves, the part numbers it was keyed to leave with it. The tractor in the barn is fine. The badge on it is dead. And the badge is what the parts catalog is keyed to. No parts, no fix. And if you think that only hits the little names, look at what is happening to the counter itself, right now. When you buy a tractor, you are not buying a machine. You are buying a relationship with a parts counter, and those counters are closing. In 2025, fewer than 3 in 4 farm equipment dealers even expected to turn a profit. That is a multi-year low, down from the mid-80s and high 90s just 2 seasons before. The big dealer groups, the ones with the deepest parts shelves, have shrunk 4 years running, from 214 of them down to 199. And the names are combining as we speak. This year, the company that owns Case IH and New Holland folded their 2 dealer networks into one. Every time a store closes, the nearest counter that stocks your brand can sit an hour farther away than the day you bought. Ask who profits from a thin network. The brand does. It sells you a cheaper machine off a skeleton of dealers, and you learn what that saved you years later, back-ordered, with the closest store already gone dark. That is the trade nobody explains on the lot. Cheap today, stranded later. Hold it in your head, because every brand on this list is a bet on how long its counter stays open. So here's the list, worst first. And the worst tractor you can still buy new today, on this one measure, wears a badge called TYM, and sometimes a badge called Branson. Start with the owners. One of them took a warranty problem to the dealer who sold him the machine and got this. His dealer told him, quote, "Look for another dealer to handle the warranty repair on a sale that he made the money on." Another sat 9 months with the trouble lights lit and no callback from any level of the company, and one of them put the stake in a single sentence. Quote, "Farmers or anyone buys a $40,000 tractor deserves better. Why is it like this? Because the badges are a shell game." In January of 2023, TYM and Branson became one company, and the Branson name started disappearing into the TYM label. TYM also builds the tractors a big farm store chain sells under its own house brand. So a buyer can own 3 badges built by one factory and not know which one's parts channel outlives the other 2. About 300 counters and less certainty than any name still on the market. One rung up at about the same 300 counters sits LS, but LS has the opposite problem, and it is a sneaky one. LS is a builder that hides behind other people's badges. The New Holland Boomer and the Workmaster, red tractors, respected name, are LS machines underneath. The Montana that just hit the graveyard was LS iron too. So the parts exist, sitting in a bin under a New Holland or LS number. The catch is finding the man who knows they are the same part. Owners have run into New Holland dealers who, quote, "have no way to cross-reference which piece fits which badge." The part is real. Whether the person behind the counter can connect your dead badge to the live one is the gamble. A thin network with a translation problem sitting on top of it. Now the machines start to climb and the ground gets firmer under them. Mahindra. The parent company is Indian, and it has sold tractors in the United States for 30 years, off a network of more than 400 dealers, fed by 7 distribution centers on American soil. Unlike the graveyard brands, Mahindra is not going anywhere. One thing to handle straight, because you will see it in every ad. Mahindra markets itself as the #1 selling tractor brand in the world by volume. That claim is not the full picture. A United States Advertising Review Board looked at it, after a challenge from John Deere, and told Mahindra to qualify it. So when you hear #1 in the world, hear a marketing department, not a fact. What is a fact, and what matters to you, is this. A brand 30 years deep in the country, staging parts in 7 American warehouses, gets you a relay a lot faster than an importer with a phone number. Of the brands that make you gamble at all, Mahindra is the safest of the bets. Quick one while we are here. Tell me in the comments what badge is on your tractor, and the last time you needed a part for it, how long you waited. The folks reading this are shopping right now, and your answer is worth more than any ranking I can hand them. So the rule to hold as we climb into the brands worth trusting is this. The counter behind the badge is the product. And the last names on this list are the ones whose counters are not going anywhere. Kioti noses ahead of Mahindra, and not on a few extra dealers on a map. It gets there on what stands behind them. Kioti sells almost only under its own name, so there is no orphaned badge translation problem waiting for you. And it runs a parts and fulfillment center in Wendell, North Carolina on this side of the ocean. Now look at Kioti. And the first thing you hear is a scare story, so let us deal with it. There is a story on every tractor forum that you cannot get parts for a Kioti once it turns 6. Chase it to its source and it traces back to a Kubota salesman. On the same forum where the scare gets repeated, an owner 15 years into his Kioti answers it in one line. Quote, "Never had any issue with parts in the 15 years I have owned it." The scare is a competitor's talking point. The parts center in North Carolina is a fact you can drive to. Kioti earns its spot. Up to this point, every brand on the list has asked you to accept some kind of risk. That stops now. Number 2, and no surprise to anyone who has driven past a dealership, is Kubota. More than 1,100 dealer counters across the country, by the company's own count. A network built from the ground up around this exact buyer, the compact tractor owner. Parts stay available on Kubota machines that are 40 years old. And here is what matters most on this particular measure. You do not need a lawyer, a subscription, or a dealer's permission to buy one Kubota U-joint. The access is clean. It is the value answer on this list. A deep parts shelf, a close counter, and no strings attached to reaching either one. If the story ended here, Kubota would be the easy winner. It does not end here. You have seen this story play out before, and not on a farm. Suzuki. In November of 2012, the American arm of Suzuki filed for bankruptcy and stopped selling new cars in this country. It had 246 dealers at the start of that year. It promised to keep parts and service going, and its owners watched the local service door close and drove farther and farther to keep a car that ran fine. Nothing was wrong with the machine. The support behind the badge just left. The sharpest version of that lesson lives right in the tractor world, in one owner's line about Branson. Quote, "There will be some irony if Branson becomes an orphan after they made other brands orphans." It did just that. So who wins? Who is the one brand that will still sell you a part in year 7 from a counter close enough to matter? Here is the part I do not enjoy saying. It is the one brand this channel has spent all week holding to account. John Deere. More than 2,200 parts counters across the country. A distribution hub in Milan, Illinois, that ships hundreds of thousands of orders every week. And of every badge in this video, the lowest chance, near zero, that the company behind it vanishes and takes your part numbers with it. On the one thing this list measures, how long you wait for a part and how far you drive to get it, John Deere wins, and it is not close. But a crown this channel hands to John Deere comes with the truth attached. You pay for that network twice. Once on the sticker, in the green premium, every buyer knows they are paying. And once in this, it is the same parts network you just watched farmers force open to reach their own repairs. The safest parts shelf in the business belongs to the company that fought hardest to control who reaches it. The most certain part is also the priciest, and the one you least own outright. But that crown hands you the real lesson, and it is not a badge at all. The safest parts horizon is not a name. It is a radius. A John Deere 90 minutes away loses to a Kubota 15 minutes down the road on the only thing this whole list measures: how fast the part lands in your hand. Before you sign anything, run the audit this ranking is built on. Count how many of that brand's dealers sit within an hour of your gate. Check whether the company stocks parts from a warehouse on American ground or ships them from an ocean away. And ask, out loud, at the desk, whether the badge on that hood is a rebadge that can vanish and take its part numbers with it. Those 3 questions, and the counter map for every brand here, are what we built the compact tractor buyer's ledger to hold. Because the machine that will still be fed, long after the name on the hood is somebody's phone number in North Carolina, is the one you want to drive home. Buy the counter, not the badge.